Welcome back, everyone. Financial freedom. Financial freedom is the goal of every person on this planet. In America, we think that if we work hard enough, eventually we'll be financially free. If we work hard enough, we can live to a ripe old age, or we can retire and we can live the rest of our days in comfort, not having to stress about the bills. We'll have our house, we'll have our car, we'll be able to go on vacations, we'll be able to grow old with our friends. But how do we get that in a system that isn't designed for life to work out like that? We are a debt-based society. Our financial systems that are there, as we were told, to help us attain our dreams. They're giving us mortgages, they're giving us car loans, business loans, personal loans, is designed to keep us trapped in debt our entire lives. They leverage our lives, just like we would leverage our house to get a loan, our car to get a loan. They leverage our lives to get us into financial debt with the promissory note that we will pay them money for up to 30 years of our life. And at what age do people buy homes now? Because it isn't when they're 18, because who's going to buy a home when they're 18? Who can? Most people buy their first homes when they're in their early 30s, mid 30s, 40s even. And when you sign on to that, that's 30 years. For most people, it's 30 years. That means by the time you're 65, you're 70, maybe you'll have your house paid off. And at 70 years old, maybe you'll have the financial freedom. And I say that it's predatory because you can pay into these things for decades, and 10 years, 20 years. And you can be a loyal debt slave, paying in on time, and then something happens, right? Something happens and you have to stop working. There's an illness and now you go into medical debt and you have to pay for these things. Maybe the company that you're working at went under. Maybe you got laid off. Even though you worked your entire life to get a pension, to get retirement, it's kind of common practice known, it's well known that companies will lay people off right before they hit that retirement age to kind of save on that. And this is one of the reasons why people don't have long careers staying at one company anymore. When that happens, and when you don't make your payments for just a couple of months, those same banks that you've paid for decades will come in and take everything from you. They'll take your house, they'll take your car, they'll put liens on anything that you own until they get their money back. Everything that you owe them. Because in the end, you owe them. You were never really a homeowner. You never really owned your car. For the first few years, or for a house, could be for the first decade, you never actually paid the principal, right? You're just paying on interest. You're paying the bank directly because you sign yourself up to a kind of indentured servitude. You become a serf when you take on these debts. And a lot of financial influencers talk about there being good debt and bad debt, and that's why it's important for you to get your credit score up. But I think that credit score is a bit of an illusion because people with the highest credit scores usually have the highest debt. And any debt is bad debt because debt is debt. No one's happy about being in debt. No one sees themselves owing hundreds of thousands of dollars and says, I'm in a good place right now. And because you're always on a razor's edge. You're always on a cliff where if anything happens, you get pushed off that cliff and you can lose everything. And this does happen, and it happens frequently. And ever since social media came around, I think that lifestyle has been a massive thing. In front of our face, we're always given images of success. People following these financial trends of taking on good debt, and look at them now. Look how rich they are, look how wealthy they are. Most of the time, this is a lie. And if it's not a lie, it's people who either got lucky or people who had a real leg up before they started. But for most people, they don't have a leg up. For most people, they have to take two roads. One road is chasing lifestyle, and the other one takes you into debt because of desperation. And I think I found a good example while cruising around on Reddit of a recent story of somebody kind of listing the situation that they're in. And I think it's a perfect example of chasing lifestyle. So here it is. I need some guidance badly. I've accumulated approximately $38,000 in credit card debt, and I'm not sure what to do about it. My wife and I bring in on an average of $8,000 to $8,500 a month, depending on what extra overtime I can generate at my job. The following are our expenses and credit cards: mortgage, $2,300, daycare, $3,080, car leases, $1,200, auto insurance, $230, cell phones, $230, internet, $140, electricity, $130, heat, as needed approximately $500 for a fill up every 5 weeks in the winter time. We have 5 credit cards. That's Chase, Amazon, Visa, $10,978 at a $348 monthly payment. Citibank, $10,264, $355 monthly payment. Chase Freedom, $59.82 at a $187 monthly payment. Another Chase Freedom card, $56.97 at a $223 monthly payment. And Slate Edge, $38.45 at a $40 monthly payment. As you can see, credit cards are crippling us with the interest rates. I applied for a loan on SoFi for $40,000 for the 5 years at approximately 15% interest for 906 to consolidate. I mean, credit cards, for many people, this might not seem that abnormal. For many people, this might seem kind of normal. And if that does seem normal to you, I think that you might have a financial issue, because this may not look like chasing a lifestyle, but that's what this is. This is living beyond your means. The average mortgage may be $2,300. They may be spot on. Daycare, $3,080 a month. One of you needs to not work, essentially, because after taxes, if you're bringing $8,000 to $8,500 in gross, and after taxes, daycare is half of your salary. So one of you should just stay home or find a family member, or even, pay for a babysitter, pay for a nanny. You'd spend less money. But what gets me the most is having all this debt, right? Stretching yourself to your financial means, and then having 2 new cars on lease. This is chasing a lifestyle. This isn't anything anyone needs, but this is a common thing, because we're told that this is what we should do. We should have a job. We find someone, we get married, we have a kid, we get a house, everyone gets their own cars, everyone has cell phone, everyone has internet, everyone has these things. Do you need these things? No. You don't need a new car, especially a lease, because a lease at $600, these are nice cars that they have. And to have these things and to get this far into credit card debt, and then think that the answer is consolidating. The answer is you need to change your lifestyle, because this is the consequence of chasing after a lifestyle, chasing that idea of what we need. And should these be attainable? Yes, but in this situation, they're not. How can you have financial freedom when you're chasing a lifestyle like this? How can you choose to do what you want? How can you ever retire if you're in a constant cycle of debt? And I think that that's why, especially now, we need to live below our means. As things are going to get more expensive, and as interest and as taxes and insurance rates go up in our lives, in our lifetime, I think we need to live below our means. I think we need to look at a house and be like, I can afford this house, but it would be smarter for me to get something lower in price. I can afford this lease on this car now, this nice car, I really want it. But what's wrong with me spending $5,000-$6,000 and getting like a 2015, 2016 with 100,000 miles? You're not going to have to worry about the same kind of insurance. You're not going to have to worry about having a big card note or anything. There are things that you can do other than chase a lifestyle that you clearly can't afford. And I think that it's very easy to fall into this kind of trap. And a lot of you watching this might actually have fallen into this trap, because it's little decisions. It's not big decisions. It's little decisions. We're going to get this now because a year from now we'll be able to afford it. I'll do a little bit better. But what if you're not? This is how you lose everything. When you owe this much that you can't afford, and you're paying credit cards with credit cards, eventually you'll lose everything. No longer is it a mafia guy coming to hit you in the leg and tell you you owe money. Now it's people in suits coming by with letters of foreclosure. And that's where chasing lifestyle leaves you. And the other case, which I think is a little personal to me, because I grew up a bit on the rougher side. Certainly there were many people who were doing much worse than we were, and I knew a lot of these people. This system is designed to take advantage of desperate people, just like it is people who fall into a trap. You're at 2 ends of a spectrum. The vast majority of people exist in the center, and they survive. They do well enough. But if you're on these 2 sides, you get no sympathy from anyone. They say you deserve to owe what you owe. You deserve the hardship that you have. And in this case, I want to talk about a single mother or a single father. Someone who counts every penny, who clips coupons. They can never afford a house, so they're renting, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. For some reason, they've just never been able to make enough money. And this isn't a specific situation. I mean, this could be a large amount of people, and it is a large amount of people. People who have to go to payday loans and get an early advance in their paycheck. People who have to get $300, $500 credit cards out and max them out to pay their bills. There are massive industries built to prey on these people. And for these people, there's really no way out. For these people, they are truly trapped in a system that is designed to trap them. And because they're the withouts, because you are nothing in this country if you don't have the lifestyle that the other side is chasing, you get no sympathy. You get no protection. Your misfortune is your own fault. And there's no empathy from any system. And you say, oh, well, your lifestyle choices, maybe they could downsize. But people in these situations have downsized as much as they possibly can. To downsize any further would mean for them to be homeless. And at some point, you have to have sympathy for people like this. At some point, you have to have pity. And the fact is just there's no recourse for people like that. And it's normal for people to get 10, 15, 20 of these credit cards. I've seen it happen. It's happened in my family. And then you could be struggling to pay off these small amount credit cards for decades. And how much debt do these people typically carry? Barely any. These are people with low credit scores, but they'll carry the lowest amount of debt compared to the high credit scores with the highest amount of debt. But they're kept in a place, and they're kept on a place on purpose by financial institutions that decades ago would have been ran by mafias. But now they'll just take everything that you have. They'll have you kicked out of your apartment. They'll take whatever you have and just throw you out. And like I said, you'll get no sympathy because America has become such a dog-eat-dog society where everyone's struggling. There is no sympathy. Sympathy and generosity usually come from fairly well-off people. Everyone else is struggling. They justify the hardships of other people by their own success. They're like, well, I made it out. Why can't you? People make different decisions. Different things happen to people in their lives. You have to have empathy for people, especially in a system like this, because this is a system that's hard to succeed in. You may watch videos of influencers who say how easy it is if you make these simple decisions. There are no simple decisions. There are no simple avenues out of your socioeconomic class now in America. There isn't. If you're a genetically gifted person and you can study hard enough and you can become a doctor or a lawyer, good for you. I'm happy for you. You are truly blessed. But for the most part, people don't have that. And even if they are smart enough, the life that they were born into precludes them from being able to do any of those things. You're like, well, will they just work harder? People all over this planet work their fingers to the bone and they have no money. And in 2025, the pull yourself up by your own bootstrap stuff, it just doesn't hit anymore. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have bootstraps. You don't have shoes. You don't have shoes because you went to a payday lender and you couldn't make your payments. And now you're kicked out of your apartment. There's a lien on your bank so you can't get any money out. Your kids are hungry, your wife is screaming at you, and society has blacklisted you and labeled you as a failure or unfit. And as much as I would like to say that there's an answer for people like that, with time and luck, maybe, you can try to consolidate your debt, but at the same time, eventually you're gonna have to find career advancement, but there's not really an answer. There's not really gonna be escape. For you, my friend, financial freedom isn't in the cards for a long time unless you absolutely change your stars. And you can't expect help. You can't expect sympathy. And it's truly tragic. And that's why I say don't participate in this system. There is a new movement happening, No Pay 2025, where people are no longer taking loans. People are no longer paying into corporate institutions. I love seeing this kind of stuff. I'm a fan of the farmer's market. I'm a fan of the artisanal stuff, right? I believe that people can take care of themselves. I believe that communities can take care of themselves because I was alive before Walmart took control. I was alive when Main Street America was still Main Street America. Now when you go to these small towns throughout America, you just see like the desiccated remains of main streets. Empty buildings with no businesses, where at one time there was a thriving economy in every small town. Every small town had its own culture. People were proud to be from where they're from, and now people can't wait to escape. I feel bad for people who grew up in a time of sterile corporatism. Honestly, I do, because what a great time it was. I often reflect on what the 90s were like. I often reflect on what the early 2000s were like, and it just felt more real. It felt more honest. It didn't feel like life was decided by corporate consensus. It felt like people can make decisions without fear of the consequence of putting themselves out there. Well, you may have got judged back then, sure, but now your life can be ruined. You say one thing wrong and people will try to take your life away from you, because this is the culture that we're in now. Escape. Get your financial freedom. Don't go into ruinous debt. Find a place where you can thrive. Find a place where you can survive, where financially you can live your best life. In the next coming videos, I'm going to give some ideas of places that you can go as kind of a retreat. Places in this world where you can still build a life, whether you're trying to retire or whether you're trying to just get out for a while or you want to go start a family. It doesn't have to be here anymore. You don't have to go in debt for everything. You can escape this place. You can escape this culture and find yourself in a new place. Find yourself in a new culture where you love, where that side of you that wants to strive to live their best life can actually be rewarded. And no longer will the constant cloud of financial hardship hang over your head. So thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment whether you agree, disagree. If you've gotten yourself in crazy debt, leave your story. I'm sure there's plenty of people that can relate. I can relate to mistakes I've made in the past, because we're all just trying to advance, and we're all just trying to, even if we're not trying to chase a lifestyle, we're trying to chase security. So yeah, have a good one.